The day it all blew up was a rainy Tuesday in Berlin, and the sky hung so heavy it felt like the city's ceiling would fall and turn everything into a broad, wet canvas. My phone buzzed on the table. I didn't pay attention at first, my cue to join yet another endless family group chat. But when the phone kept vibrating, relentless, I finally wiped my hands on my jeans and glanced. It wasn't a message from my mother about leftover bratwurst or my uncle sending politics memes. Instead, it was a video, just a short clip, 30 seconds, already viewable thousands of times. Above it, a caption, "Local boy invents the next big thing startup fail." I hit play. There I was on a shaky, surreptitious camera, standing on stage at a co-working space near Alexanderplatz, explaining to a scattered crowd what my software could do. Image recognition, automatic annotations, seamless integration for artists and designers. Despite the rain-out crowd, I had thought I handled the pitch well. But this video focused on the blank stares, the yawns, some girl texting, the way my hands sweated and fumbled with the clicker. In the last frame, a voice, my cousin's, I realized, twisted with scorn, said, "We're all gonna use it, right? Haha, good luck with that one, Jonan." The sarcasm stretched out my name until it was barely mine anymore. The video felt like a cold slap. I scrolled to the comments and saw an unsettling mix of laughter, eye rolls, peppered with a few supportive "he'll show us one day" emojis that made it all worse. Because nobody truly believed me, not even the ones trying not to kick me while I was down. My inbox pinged, family chat this time, threads sprung up like weeds. "Haha, Johnny, viral already, fame at last. Ooh, next Mark Zuckerberg, watch out. You should have been an accountant like your dad. Stop chasing clouds and come home for Oma's birthday." The words, emojis, inside jokes, I kept reading long after the pain had turned from embarrassment to something harder, a kind of exhaustion. I couldn't sleep, even when the city finally quieted and the rain traced rivers on the windows. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard my cousins laugh, watched the smirks, felt the soft tremor in my hands as I grasped for belief in myself. I was 22 then. The humiliation clung to me like damp socks. I grew up in Pankow, in a squat, square apartment. Walls painted the color of boiled eggshell. Our family story was always about working hard and staying modest. Dreams could exist as long as you didn't chase them too far. My father kept ledgers for a local auto parts supplier, numbers written meticulously in blue ink. My mother sold scarves and gloves at Prenzlauer Berg markets. They weren't unkind, just cautious, practical, slow to embrace anything loud or uncertain. I was always the weird one, knees scabbed from rollerblading too hard, scribbling code on graph paper, getting lost in ideas nobody else could see. By the end of secondary school, I wanted to build something new, software to help creative people organize and annotate their images. At first, my parents humored me, said it was a cute hobby. Then I dropped out of university to launch the company. That first year, I slept on my friend Fabian's futon, washing dishes to get free drinks at night. I hired my cousin Sven as a part-time intern. He recorded that viral video. I'll never know if he meant to harm or just wanted to be in on the mood of the room. Back then, it didn't matter. The damage was done. The only money I had came from a few freelance coding gigs and what was left of my student loans. I couldn't so much as afford the hackathons my friends went to. But I kept working. Every day, tweaking the algorithm, emailing artists to ask what would help, trying to ignore the old video that still lurked at the edge of every social search. My shame was public and persistent. Those first 2 years felt like walking through fog. Berlin is a city of contradictions, old Soviet blocks next to glowing startup hubs, graffiti beside polished steel. By 9 a.m., the city is busy, but sometimes I'd wake before dawn and walk to the Tiergarten, The tree stood bone still in the mist, and I'd tell myself that one day someone in this city might use my tool and see something no one else could. It felt both impossible and completely necessary. I learned to stop taking the tram to my parents' house for Sunday meals. Every conversation started with a joke about our little businessman, ended with one about finding a real career. Once, when I tried explaining a new prototype to my mother, she just looked at me, her face cautious and blank. "That's nice," she said, "but the rent is coming, Jonathan." I nodded, her unsaid words sinking into me. What if they're right? But the shame no longer burned. In some ways, it made things simpler. I felt armored, stripped bare. What more could anyone take? The first taste of hope came 3 years in. I had rewired everything. Spending whole weekends poring over APIs and documentation, eating leftover Turkish takeout. After nearly giving up, I sent my new build to a popular Berlin design firm, Moores and Riebeck, several floors above the U-Bahn. I expected silence. Instead, 3 days later, my phone buzzed with a message. "Your plugin works. Please come by to discuss licensing." Those words, precise and businesslike, felt more intimate than any embrace. I wore my only clean button-up and sat through a meeting where no one laughed or rolled their eyes. They asked about my workflow, how I managed data security, about Docker containers. I could talk about those things in my sleep. For the first time, people looked at me not with ridicule, but with a sliver of hunger. I signed a deal within a week. After that, things pulsed forward in fits and starts. Morrison Riebeck was respected. And once they used Annalie, my tool, other studios tried it. I hired 2 freelance developers, paid them on time for small features. We were nowhere near big money. Not yet. But as the months went by, the subscriber count in my Stripe dashboard ticked upward. 10, 20, then 100. Sometimes I'd snap a screenshot just to prove to myself it was real, that I wasn't alone in believing. Still, I kept mostly to myself. The shame from the video lingered, fossilized, a reminder to never get ahead of myself. In meetings, I called myself John, not Jonathan-less German, less familiar. Every now and then, old friends or family would message, "Are you back in Berlin? Want to get a drink?" I always found some excuse. My parents would ask when I'd give up. "Oma's 80th next year. You have time then, right?" I'd nod vaguely, not wanting to explain that showing up meant stepping back into the same story. The laughingstock who never let go of his little fantasy. Success started in whispers. A design blog in Copenhagen featured Anatoly. A studio in Barcelona left a glowing review. Still, at home, I kept my head down. 2 years after the Morrison Riebeck deal, Berlin Tech Week invited me to speak. I almost said no, remembering that old viral clip, the way it had made me afraid of stages and microphones. But something inside me shifted. I'd failed in front of everyone before. What else could they do to me? I practiced my talk until the mirrors in my sublet cracked from repetition. When the Tech Week day came, the weather was cold but bright. Rare January sunlight spilled onto the spree, windows full of reflected gold. I climbed on stage in the main hall and told my story, nerves alive and electric. I didn't show old wounds. I spoke about product market fit, iteration, vulnerability. I could sense somehow the crowd's attention had changed, not indulgent, but intent. After, a reporter from Die Zeit asked for my number. A few photographs later, I stepped off stage to a hum of approval and business cards. It wasn't global stardom, but when I typed my name into a search bar that night, the first result was no longer the video. It was, "How Anatoly is serving the new generation of creatives." The ridicule was getting washed out slowly by a tide of something else. Respect. A few weeks later, my uncle called from out of the blue. I almost didn't answer.